this afternoon at 5 to 5. Their only appearance here at sensational Adelaide.
Well, it certainly has been frantic stuff. We'll try to give you the grid positions as they come to hand very shortly, but have a look at on Brabham Straight. They are really now gunning for the final time. It's crunch time. There's a few there really trying to make a move there at the finish. Next time around, where they greet the checkered flag, is their last opportunity. So the guys and girls, two of them out there here today, here in sensational Adelaide, trying to get that time down at the end of the event. It's crunch time now, Tony. The grid position can play such an important part here this afternoon, because if you're stuck a little further back in the traffic, it's really going to be tough to try to fight your way through.
Well, it was a real do and die effort, because with Ross Halliday hitting the wall and the yellow flags are out, just when the teams would have been trying to get their fastest laps, put them down, they had to slow down under the yellow because they cannot pass, of course. So that's the end of the HQ practice. As we said, their race at 5 to 5. So we'll be back with you to tell you a little bit more later on.
The parachutist is out overhead with the magnificent flag representing JV Crash Repairs, and we're going motor racing for the first time. We've had lots and lots of qualifying here at the Adelaide Grand Prix circuit today. The first of our races, the JV Crash Repairs HQ Challenge. Tony Grove and Paul Ryan.
Certainly the first race here for this weekend, and Steve Monterosso is the quickest driver in the practice, is on pole with Peter Holmes alongside him.
Bill Langston's, of course, been going very well late this year. He's going to start from the third row, from the third position on the grid, second row, and a bit of a surprise there, Tony. Neil Corey going very well to grab fourth spot.
Morford Vale, 10 p.m. Salisbury, 2 a.m. Mount Barker, 4 p.m. Wherever, whenever you're unfortunate enough to have an accident, One Crash Repairer provides a free pickup, quote and delivery service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. JV Crash. And with JV Crash, you have the benefit of over 20 years experience, all the very latest technology, and a good reliable loan car, free. JV Crash, for a perfect job every time.
Peter Brock, welcome to Adelaide.
Thank you.
Must be a while since you've driven one of these.
Just thinking about that, actually. Last one I drove, it had drum brakes and 3 on the tree, and must have been about 15 or 20 years ago. But what a bit of nostalgia, of course, to see these HQs back here again. It's amazing, isn't it?
You're speaking on behalf of JV Crash Repairs. Why did JV Crash choose to sponsor the HQ racing event?
Well, JV Crash Repair, of which John Vernick is the managing director, has been really wrapped in these HQs for a long, long time. I mean, he sponsors a couple of the cars. You can see this rocket getting around there. I suppose he likes them because they're the first of the real new look Holmes. You know, they sort of came out of the blue, and all of a sudden, and they're a bit of a classic nowadays. They're quite a good shape. Yeah. He likes them.
So, Brocky, what do you think it is about the HQ that makes them so popular with the general public?
I suppose everyone is looking for that feeling of familiarity, or perhaps the feeling that there goes me, but for the grace of God. And they look at a HQ and think, yeah, I used to have one of them. Or I could get one. Or my mate's got one. Or something like that. They recognise it. That's one of the reasons why touring car racing, I think, has had this great amount of interest for probably 20 or 30 years now in Australia. People love seeing cars that they reckon they can buy, get out there and, you know, get around the track. They're very close racing, cheap to get on the track. A lot of young, unknown drivers are getting out there having a go. And I can tell you that a lot of us who are involved in the professional side of it, we're actually treating HQ racing a little more seriously than when it first started. When it first started, we thought, oh, yeah, HQs, a bit of crash and bash, waltzing around the corners, you know, the old HQs. But they handle pretty well. There's a lot of driving skill involved, and we're looking for young talent amongst a lot of the drivers coming through.
Well, again, welcome, Brocky, and have a good time at the Grand Prix.
Thank you.
There'll be Monterosso and Holmes on the front row of a packed 35-car grid. Green light there at the back. Wait for the red light. We'll have a green within 2 and 7 seconds. There's the red light, revs building. The first event on the sensational Adelaide Grand Prix calendar. Green light, and we go with a HQ challenge. And it's going to be Monterosso. Makes a great start. In fact, he's going to come across in front of Holmes and really lead quite convincingly into the chicane, the centre chicane for the first time.
Certainly got the jump as he cut across the circuit and leads them down through the chicane, out of turn 3 and into that short leg of Wakefield Road, and the traffic back in midfield with hopping over the curb, but everybody's managed to get through there without any drama. The race leaders already out of Wakefield Street and up into the East Terrace, heading around towards Berry Street at this stage. They go up to Hutt Street and then under the bridge and down towards Banana Bend.
So there's our race leader. Peter Holmes first. Peter Holmes second. Steve Monterosso first. Bill Laxton still there in third. Neil Corey doing a really good job there in car 8. He's been very impressive. And take a look at John Pengelly. He's also making a bit of a start. He loves this circuit under race conditions. Won here last year, and he's already up to, looks like, 6th spot. Doing a good job so far. But Monterosso down, getting ready. Turns into Brabham Straight for the first time. The two JV crash cars got a bit of a gap over the rest of the fields. They charge their way down. Couple right out over the curb. Very, very untidy. It's really going to hurt their straight line speed. You really want to be nice and neat and tidy all the way down. You've got a nice, neat line to really get the power down nice and early. But have a look, Tony, at them in the background there, all over the place. The action's coming thick and fast.
Certainly is, with Monterosso and Holmes leading them through. Then it would be... see, whoa, there we have a lose as they come back out of Brabham Straight.
25, that is. Was Pengelly? Couldn't quite catch the number there. We'll try to pick that up for you. But great carnage down there at the hairpin. In fact, it was our winner from last year, John Pengelly. Well, what a boilover that is, ladies and gentlemen. Our race winner from last year, one of the real favourites for this year's event, has been brought unstuck, a big spin and a big job ahead. He's really going to have to try to fight his way back through the field, but with only 8 laps to journey, it's going to be a very, very big ask.
So it's Monterosso who leads Holmes down the pit straight there, and then it would be Ward, I think, into 3rd slot, but the traffic very heavy coming out of the Adelaide hairpin there.
Laxton's there in 3rd, Corey 4th. Then we go back to Steve Ward. Have a look at Steve Ward, though. He's right on the power. Challenging now, has a look up the inside of Neil Corey. Not close enough. Very, very close, though. Looked for a way up the inside. Have a look at the bit of a freight train here. Laxton's, Corey and Ward right on each other's tail. They're trying to bridge the gap up to the 2 JV crash cars.
Well, while that's happening, of course, the Monterosso and Holmes are pulling away a little bit, because when we get a dice like that back in the field, not only have to watch the front of your car, but you've also got to watch the back, and generally that allows the people in front to pull away a little bit. But it's still Monterosso, Steve Monterosso, who leads them through from Peter Holmes. Then it's Bill Laxton's would be next, Neil Corey. Down then through Banana Bend they go. Great gaggle of cars down there.
Have a look at Corey this time. He was right on the tail of Laxton's and got the entry onto the straight. Very, very neat. Laxton's was up on the curb. There's the 2 JB crash cars going past if you're near a monitor, but right down on the inside of the track, Laxton's and Corey. Laxton is trying to cover for his mistake. Corey swings right to the outside. Hard they come under brakes. Is he going to be able to pull this off around the outside? No, not this time. Laxton's hold sway, but Corey shoots up the insides. Laxton's runs wide. He's getting Taylor under pressure. Can he cope? Neil Corey doing a very good job so far.
And while all this is happening, of course, Ward's grabbed onto the back of there, and he's just sitting back there in a nice comfortable position, waiting for these two to make a mistake, and he'll poke his nose through there also.
Fabulous shots coming to us on GPTV with the courtesy this afternoon of the 9 Network.
So still with Monterosso, Steve Monterosso leading them through there, and right on his tail is the second of the JB cars, which is Peter Holmes.
Bill Laxton still in 3rd spot. Neil Corey right on his tail. Steve Ward. Then we go back to car 7. Dave Melling doing a good job. 65 is Kim Gray, also trying to fight his way up through the field. Just ahead of him, Chris Frost. Good performance there from Frost. Not normally one of the front-running competitors. And then Gary Baxter trying to make up for his poor starting position. moves up a position as well. But geez, the battle for the last podium spot is an absolute ripper. Laxton's holding sway. Corey there in 4th spot. Steve Ward really fired up for this event. You can see them right up on the curbs. Looks like problems for Mike Irwin too. Pulls into pit side. Maybe Tom Norton, you can bring us up to date what's befallen Mike, but trouble there. Has retired from this event. He'll be very disappointed with that.
Certainly Ward has hacked onto the back of that freight train, but there we've got the car of Monterosso and Holmes there, just coming out and swinging around the edge there. Not much between those two cars, probably about 100 metres back then to the car of Laxton's, and then it would be Corey, eased off a little bit there in the Just Cars entry, and further back then to Bill Laxton's, to Steve Ward. Quite a gap after those first 5 cars.
Yeah, next up Dave Melling leading the ensuing pack, but it looks to be that Bill Laxton's is closing slightly on the leading JV Crash crew. Just edging away slightly. Got a little bit ragged there for a little bit as Neil Corey started to put the pressure on. But Laxton's is certainly closing. In fact, Monterosso looks like he's opening up just that little bit of a gap. He has the fastest lap so far, 2:09.22 to our race leader and poleman, Steve Monterosso.
So it's still Monterosso leading them through in 2, Holmes in 1, followed by Corey in the 8 car. Back then to Laxton's in 4, into 3, which is Ward. Having a look there, the best lap now going to the number 4 car, which is Bill Laxton's. He set the fastest time so far.
Bit of trouble back in the field too, coming onto the straight. A lot of push and shove as they try to force their way through. There's no beg your pardons out here. It's crunch time today. After today, it's pack 'em up, take 'em home. It's one going right off there into the Adelaide sensational Adelaide hairpin gravel trap, car 40.
David Presnell in the blue and yellow car.
Very lucky to get his way out of that. That gravel trap will eat just about anything that gets anywhere near it. But he's been able to get out, but he's ended up taking a lot of gravel back onto the circuit. So it's going to be interesting to see, Tony, next time round if that brings. In fact, we can see it on one of our monitors here. Gravel all over the track. See if that brings anyone else unstuck next time around.
Well, the lead car's now into Jones Straight going down towards the Malt Tower, and it's still Steve Monterosso with Holmes. And if anything, Laxton's is making up a little bit of ground on those front 2 cars as they come down Brabham Straight this time. He'll look for a run on the left-hand side as he goes down there, stay out as wide as possible. About an even distance between both first and second and third at this stage, probably about 4 lengths possibly. But down into the end of Brabham Straight, out wide and sneak across. I wish I could turn on that corner at a busy night without having to go all the way around that island there. It'd be very handy.
It would make life a whole lot easier. It's probably the fastest you'll see a HQ go around that part of the Adelaide roadway. This time of year, it's a little different though, as Steve Monterosso is proving. Doing a great job out there in front.
Robert Zanetti parked down there at the Stag, well off the track. So he's up on the rumble strips there. As the lead cars now come back onto the start-finish straight. And Laxton certainly pulled away from Corey, and likewise Corey has pulled away from Steve Ward.
Problems too for 64. Craig Bromley, he's been caught out on the entrance to Victoria Park. We can see on our monitors here, right over against the tyre barrier. Looks like he's pulled it up just short, which is lucky enough for Craig. And the car number 64, the black car with the fluorescent writing down the side of the machine. Take a look at it as he comes out of the sensational Adelaide hairpin next time around. Won't be too far away.
He did the right thing. He waited for the traffic and then got going. But now it looks as though Holmes is coming under fire from Laxton's. Steve Monterosso has got a handy lead there, and the pressure starting to come from Laxton's now on to Holmes. Holmes still holding down second. He goes through Banana Bend, but have a look at these HQs rocking and rolling as they go down there on those Goodyears.
Yeah, they're certainly not the most stable racing machine, stiffly sprung car out here on the circuit, but certainly some of the most entertaining. But gee, Steve Monterosso, we've mentioned he hasn't been amongst the key winners of major events, but without wanting to put the mocker on him, he's looking good so far. He would really responded well to the pressure.
Whoever would have thought that HQs would take off like this with some 560 vehicles registered in Australia for HQ racing.
Have a look at Bill Laxton's trying to go around the outside of Peter Holmes. Going to try the long way around, almost running out of brakes, cuts back across. Holmes very neat out of the hairpin that time around. But really, I'll tell you what, this is really playing right into the hands of Steve Monterosso, because Holmes has got virtually both eyes on the mirror, trying to keep Bill Laxton's at bay. While that's taking up his time, have a look now. You can really see it as they come out of the Adelaide hairpin next time around. Steve Monterosso is opening up a very, very big gap that is growing lap by lap. About half distance we are, completing their fifth lap, I think it'll be this time around. We'll check the screens. In fact, there it is, 5 laps completed, still 3 remaining. But geez, Steve Monterosso doing a great job.
Well, when you have a look and think that these cars are all fairly standard, there's not a lot you can do them. It's the way you set them up, the way you drive them. And certainly Laxton's is latched onto the back of Holmes, while Monterosso is pulling away a little bit. Steve Ward's made up a little bit of ground on Neil Corey, so we could see something there in the next 3 laps. But of course, the further they go, the hotter the brakes get on these things. They're really designed to go racing. As we look at the
problems for Kim Gray
car down in the chicane,
he was running pretty well too, Tony. He was up in the top 10. Just behind car 7, Dave Melling, has come unstuck, being passed there by John Pengelly, our winner from last year. And not the best place to park, as Cornelius Keyes almost runs a little wide. Kim Gray would be sitting there. In fact, you can look underneath the car. I think that the car is overheating quite a bit. You can see a little bit of fluid underneath where the radiator is.
Well, the race leader's already down to Malthouse once again, and swing around into Brabham Straight, go under the bridge, and certainly Steve Monterosso has got a comfortable lead at this stage, but still anything can happen.
Well, Bill Laxton, certainly his pace is without doubt. He's set the fastest lap now at 2:08.53. Times that, incidentally, are faster than the qualifying times from this morning. So it just goes to show, get an afternoon of racing rubber put down here on the Grand Prix circuit can really make all the difference. In fact, 32 second fastest so far. Bruce Heinrich almost under the qualifying record at 2:08.72. But Laxton's looking strong, but can't quite get close enough onto the back of Peter Holmes to try to pull off a passing manoeuvre.
Well, as we said this morning, they were the first cars onto the circuit for 12 months, and they had contend with, even though the track had been swept, all the dust and muck that was on it. But certainly they've got the bit between their teeth now. And I can see a hand out of the
possibly acknowledging
car,
a
yellow flag I believe,
there.
down there in the chicane.
There we go, Kim Gray's car being pulled out of harm's way, and a little bit of debris and fluid you can see there on the circuit. So it'll be interesting to see if that brings anyone else unstuck.
Well, an interesting point. You can't pass under the yellow, but there's nothing to say you can't catch up, is there?
That's correct.
So it could be interesting, although we don't seem to have noticed any difference between the gaps there at this stage. But look at Monterosso. He's opened up that gap now from the car of Holmes, and having to contend with Laxton's. Still Corey behind him, followed by Ward.
Car 7 next up, Dave Melling. And we noticed just a little earlier, Graham Bolter getting very sideways as he made his way out of the Adelaide hairpin. Really had the HQ all crossed up, was able to hold on to it.
They got the double yellows out down in the chicane at the stage. So whether it's the fact that Melling's car is parked right on the race line, they've taken it across to the western side of the circuit.
I think we might have some track marshals on the track trying to push that car away, Tony, and hence the double yellows being shown to the drivers coming into that area.
So as we pick up the race leaders coming down Brabham Straight and turning into Wakefield Road once again, still Steve Monterosso in the number 2 car doing it all right, and he's got a great lead by HQ standards from Holmes. the yellow flags will certainly slow things down a little bit there.
We've certainly shown him a clean pair of heels, Tony. It's very unusual. Normally there is nothing between these guys. But Monterosso, he's got JV Crash on the car. JV Crash sponsoring the event, and he's doing his sponsor proud, really opening up an enormous gap that seems to be getting bigger and bigger as the race progresses.
So as we have a look at some of the midfield cars still having their own little dices throughout the event, it's still the car of Monterosso who leads them through. Just picking up the second place car of Holmes. Little Axton still right on his tail.
In fact, that gap has been pretty much consistent for a couple of laps now. Really not a lot between the two. Neil Corey unable to hold on to the back of Laxton. He's sort of dropping back, running a very lonely race, as is next up one very sideways onto the straight two last time around. Try to pick that number, but right out on the curb, virtually doing what Paul Stokel did, but was able to pull it back in. These cars are a little more forgiving than maybe the Brabham.
Well, certainly with the Monterosso, he's got the pressure off him as he goes down around the stag. Then it's still Holmes in second, and then Latston's in third, Corey, and still Ward on that freight train.
Well, trouble too, back in the field. That's try to pick the car there, but a big battle between Heidi O'Neill, and I think it was 65, not Gray, one of the cars that was brought unstuck a little earlier, but almost a touch of paint.
But there our leaders still the car of Steve Monterosso's, just coming down Brabham Straight.
Good battle a little further back. Let's take a look at Bruce Heinrich there, trying to go up the inside of Dave Melling. Car 7, in fact, he's almost going to pull that, fighting their way out of the hairpin they go. Melling goes wide out onto the curb and almost into the concrete. I think he's pulled it up just short, got right out over the curb into the kitty litter. It's not so much kitty litter, it's just like a very dusty part of the curb. Spun the car right around and almost came to grief. Very, very close. But have a look at Bruce Heinrich. He's a man on the charge. He's got Steve Ward right in his sights. Up the inside, there's the checkered flag for our race winners. Steve Monterosso takes the win. Holmes second. Great battle back in the field. Let's have a look at the drag race. Heinrich, can he pull it off? Down the checkered flag.